मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मआणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind also be firmly established in the speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. May the truths of the scriptures be revealed to me. May the all-pervading brilliance of consciousness shine in me. May not what I learn from the scriptures ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our innermost, true divine being in our heart as a spark of light, and let us concentrate on that. I am feeling my whole being is pervaded by this inner light. I am light. The bones, the blood, the skin, all is actually just formed from that light. I am seeing now the same light enveloping the whole universe. all multiplicity is dissolved in this luminous, blissful light of consciousness. There is no bondage. There is no birth, disease or death. It is intrinsic bliss itself. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, we shall continue to discuss the first chapter in this book, Enneads by Plotinus. Actually, it is compiled by his disciple Porphyry. And the first chapter that we started studying from our previous Tuesday class was titled The Animate and Man. So, we saw that it is today also, we have that same problem that we encountered last Tuesday, a technical glitch. That clicker is not working, and today too it will not be working. So the more technological help we take, more technical issues are bound to arise, you see. So please bear with me that from the top he will have to change the slides as and when I indicate. Now I have to tell how to, to him to, hey, please change the slide or do something like this. So let us begin with the regular prayers. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormam Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness of ignorance to light of knowledge, from the divided mortal existence to the undivided immortal existence. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So we were looking at this idea that is a primary idea in philosophy, that how you have this body and the soul combined. We always feel that there is this body which is matter, but there is something that is different from body, that is conscious, that is the life. And so how the two are connected is always a difficult situation. How one enters another, at what time, and then how this connection functions, that whether the conscious entity, the soul, it propels the body and therefore becomes responsible for the actions of the body, because the body seems to be acting, but if the soul is guiding the actions, then the soul is responsible for that. And also, how is that connection between the two? How the two are connected? Those who have been studying Vedanta, they know that in Vedanta, this kind of conglomerate, a combined entity, body and soul, the conscious and the unconscious, is termed as Chit Jada Granthi. Chit means conscious, Jada means material. The two are somehow tied together, and therefore now it is matter of investigation. All religions and philosophy, you will see that they try hard to tackle this problem, come up to some understanding of it. And you can see even from early childhood, many of you, I certainly thought of that, that how this soul, how I and this body, they are kind of connected. It is, what is the connection? Like, I call this as my hand. Why not that Richard's hand as my hand? It is, it is something, so there is some connection between these limbs, and some other connection between Richard's soul and Richard's limbs. It is. So, we see this problem, that connection between body and mind. And then last time we discussed that how that could happen. Now we shall proceed further with that, that there are possibility that are put forth here. Next slide please. That it is the connection. There are these possibilities that the soul is in the body. So now the question is, where exactly in the body? Whether it is somewhere deep in the heart, or somewhere in the brain circuits, or it is somewhere deep in the bone marrow, where exactly? So it is somewhere inside the body. The soul uses body as an instrument. Body, this is also an idea that you see happening, that just as you use a screwdriver or a spanner or some other instrument like we are using now, this sound system, this microphone and the amplifier and the speakers and all as sound system, it is I who am using it. So similarly, the soul is using these limbs, eyes, ears, sense organs, motor organs, and body in general as an instrument. But then the question comes, can it be detached? when I am, say, not going to use the microphone, I take it out. Can I thus take my body out and keep? If it is just an instrument, then I should be able to, attach and detach. It is, come on, let me take up this, and then when the job is done, I have taken it out. So, it is that it becomes a problem. Is it just an instrument? Then if it is an instrument, I don't have to be tied to it all the time. When I need to plow the field, then I hold the plow. Otherwise, I am not burdened with it. It is. So, is the body constantly burdening me? Is it, or what it is? So, and there also there is this feeling, or let us put it something deeper than feeling, awareness that the body is different from soul. Howsoever we may try to think of soul as the outcome of the combination of matter, it is not very convincing that how the body can create soul. An example is given that it is this idea of soul, especially the Buddhists, they do not accept this idea of a permanent soul. So, no I. So, it is an illusion, and many neurologists and psychologists also follow that line, that it is an epiphenomena of body. Epiphenomena means a secondary phenomena that has come because of this movement of body. The particles, they move, and then in Buddhists gave a very simple example, that if you have a torch, a burning torch, and then you move like that, you see a circle of light. Now, there is no circle as such, but the circle is created by the movement of the torch. It is an appearance. Similarly, the body is real, but because of the movements of the body, there is an illusion of soul. So, but it is difficult to accept that idea, because we feel very strongly, we feel, experience that I am real. I am. In fact, the reality of the world gets doubted, but the reality of I does not get doubted by anyone. And therefore, it is not very much acceptable that the soul or consciousness is an epiphenomena of the neurological functions or the movement of the particles, whatever you may say. So, these are various ideas that Plotinus has presented, and also shown how they are lacking in giving any satisfactory explanation. So, please, next slide, please. It is. So, this we see that the inseparability of soul and body will make soul also suffer birth, disease, death. If it is separable, okay, but if it is not separable from body, then whatever is happening to the body will also happen to the soul. It is, if the clothing is not separable from me, then it is, if the clothing get wet, I go into rains, the clothes get wet, I too get wet. It is, so the idea is that if they are separable, well, yes, something is happening to the body, and something else is happening to the soul can be understood. Plotinus, as you know, is considered Neoplatonist by many, but he probably considered himself just a disciple, a follower of Plato. And in Plato's discussions, the dialogues, you find many times, we will come to some of those points now, that the idea between the soul and the body, who is primary, what is, how they function. So he is taking that form, but he has given this special term gui. Gui. It is gui here, of course, as we know, users of English language, gui is plural for I and gui. It is. So, what is meant by gui here? This combine, this body and mind becomes gui. The soul and the body, the together, that becomes gui. It is analogous to what we call in Vedanta as jiva. And jiva means that it is an embodied soul. That in Kathopanishad, you see this mention that Atmendriya Mano Yuktam Bhokta Ityahur Manishinah, that the consciousness or soul, when gets tied with body and mind, the sense organs and body and mind, then it gets called jiva or bhokta, the one who enjoys, one who suffers. Think of it, that it is. I was trying to explain it a few days back to someone, that how different these things are. Say, you eat a cookie. Now, it is the body has, the mouth means the part of the body has got it in. It goes into again the stomach and intestines process it. All that is part of body. But the satisfaction that I had a cookie, the joy, or if it is not good or if you don't like it, then why did I go to eat it? That disgust about it. All that is not part of the body. Where is it? So, who is that enjoyer or sufferer? So, that is this a combined entity. We. We. It is togetherness. That it is like it is when it is, we read in the Declaration of Independence, it is ascribed to Thomas Jefferson. So it is said, we believe in these inalienable truths. So it reads like that. What is the meaning of we? It is a sense of togetherness. That the American people as such, we believe, as American people together, we believe in these inalienable truths. That is not what I am telling, what is said, It is whether you believe it or not, that is a different matter. It is, but that is the meaning of this word gui. Gui means togetherness. And here it is the body and the soul, the conscious and the unconscious principles kind of tied together. So it is, and this is what he calls as animate. Animated chapter, as I mentioned earlier, is animate and the man. The man is, we will come to that, has a very special significance here. The man means someone who has gotten over the animal. The animal tendencies or animal part of it has been overcome. Then that Plotinus calls as man. Otherwise, it is just a brute, a two-legged brute. That's it, you know. But what is man? Man means it is somebody who has overcome the animality. We'll come to that. It is the soul and body kind of coupled. He calls it coupling, you know, it is a coupling. So, it is in this couplement, this is a phrase that is used in this translation, though when I typed it gave the red underlines, showing that this is not the word in the dictionary. It is couplement, but it can be used, you know, we can use these words. Like in India, we use the word. The postponement is common here. When an event is deferred further, then you call it postponed. In India, we use when it is advanced, we call it prepone. Postpone, and opposite of that is prepone. Although it is not a word in the dictionary, in English dictionary, no harm in using it. Actually, it is a correct word. That preponement, like postponement, and we do preponement also. So it is similarly this couplement, that bringing out this, bringing these two together. What is it? So it is, you see, the soul perceives the impressions of the sensations. Now comes the philosophical exercise. We were understanding it, the terminology so far, but now Plotinus takes us to a philosophical exercise. Plotinus is not very easy to understand because it is not given ready-made, you know. Now just this is a plate, this is the food, this is the silverware, this is the water, and there is some attendants bringing you various things that you want. Your job is pretty simple, to eat. But Plotinus doesn't give it like that. You have to think. That is the same method as Plato. Plotinus is a little more intricate than Plato. Because of the somewhat difficult language that he is using. So it is, now we shall see how this couplement is happening, and what do we get out of this couplement. We feel that we are conscious, we perceive, each of us, we see, hear, taste, we perceive. We are conscious of things. We are conscious of time, that we say that yesterday I had gone to that place. Well, you are conscious of time. That means tomorrow I plan to do something like this. And we are conscious of time. We are conscious of space. That yes, I had gone to Vedanta Society. I drove all the way from Killingly, and then see, so place is there, time is there. I am in Vedanta Society of Providence, space is there. So we are conscious of space, time, people, things around, and well, whatever we are listening, and we have this consciousness about it. So now we have to now do this exercise of separating the consciousness from the colors. I mean, I'm using the word colors in a broad sense. Whatever distortions have come to it because of these sensations that are coming to us from this body part, that eyes, touch, smells, all these sensations are coming through the body. Now I am perceiving that, but now if I isolate the two, abstract it, that is the job of thinking deeply, that the philosophy, that we do it all the time. We form these abstract conceptions like human being. Well, here we are all human beings, but particularized, like John Gallagher is a human being, Paul Sienko is another human being, this Yona is another human being. So we are all human beings, particularized. Now, what is the common aspect of that? Humanity. We see that we are all special manifestations of this as a concept called humanity. Now, let us apply the same idea of abstraction here, that I become conscious of colors, size, shape when it comes through the eyes. I become conscious of these when all this is awareness is getting formed through this channel called eyes. I become conscious of the sound forms similarly. It is, yes, it is loud or very low or musical, non-musical. It is, I become conscious of sound, conscious of sight, conscious of sound, conscious of taste, conscious of smell, conscious of touch. Now, you can see the common aspect of this is being conscious. Do you see this? Just as we took the common aspect of, say, this Saroda and Eze and Yona and John, Pritish, Donald Trump, and all these different people. And then what is common? They are human beings. So we see that common aspect, humanity. That is how we derived it. Now similarly, apply this same idea that, well, the consciousness of form, consciousness of sound, consciousness of touch, and see that as a consciousness that is in itself without any sensory inputs. The consciousness itself. Now all the variety that was being part or brought in by the body has been abstracted, and now we have the consciousness itself, and thus we see the two things here: ideal or the authentic existence, which is called in Vedanta as Sat, existence itself. Authentic existence, that is how Plotinus has put it. What is the meaning of authentic? Means, real, exactly, thank you. It is true, authentic, true. That now existence in all these things that we perceive is really not, they are not authentic in that sense, because the existence there comes and goes. It does not remain. There is some years ago, these chairs were not there. So they didn't exist. After some years, well, they may not exist. Similarly, the human beings, like John Gallagher, exist, but some years ago, a few years ago, he wasn't there, it didn't exist. So existence is of a particularized form because it is always changing. It is not the authentic existence. And now think in the same way that the authentic existence which transcends all these separate illusory appearances. That is thus the authentic existence. Authentic existence, authentic consciousness. So it is that is these two main ideas that he is telling about, that it is that and let me now read from this, that it is, this he calls as the ideal form. It is ideal form. This is a concept taken from Plato. Plato has the theory of forms, very famous theory of forms. But it is a little more here. The ideal form means it is the concept itself. So he says here, the faculty of perception in the soul cannot act by the immediate grasping of sensible objects, but only by the discernment or the discerning of impressions printed upon the animate by sensation. These impressions are already intelligibles, while the outer sensation is a mere phantom of the other, of that in the soul, impressions of the other in the soul, which is nearer to the authentic existence as being an impassive reading of ideal forms. Now, naturally, it needs some pondering, the language, and it is, sometimes philosophy therefore becomes tough to understand because of the terse language. So, it is, he mentions here that what we get is the, after discerning these impressions, the objects that we think they are there, no, we have only the impressions that the body has brought to us. Or body he calls his couplement. Only body will not be able to bring. So body and soul coupled together, they have brought us this idea that there is something like a say a chair, a wall, a clock, and so forth. These things are perceived, and so we take them as real. It is actually there. Well, yes, I ate something that is really sweet. I experienced that. But if you discern, if one intelligently tries to see what has happened, it is only the information, the impressions that are brought to us by these senses. There is nothing more to that. Then we come to the idea that there is such an object, and it all depends on all the five senses coming together and giving us a harmonious presentation. If they are not in harmony, then we get confused. For example, my eyes tell me that there is a demarcating boundary there. We call it horizon, my eyes tell me it is right there, maybe about 3 miles away. Let me go and see that how that boundary looks. Now what is it? It is not there. When I walk there, then I see, no, it is every time it is 3 miles away. Then I conclude that it was a visual deception, because my other sense organs do not corroborate it. I hear a sound coming from there, and then I don't see any object of that type which could be producing that sound, and then I see that the object, the bird that was making that sound is only there. But I heard it from here, it was what we call echo. It is an echo. There is the story of a dentist that the patient had gone there, and then after examining, he was telling that there is cavity. And then again and again the doctor seemed to be saying cavity. The patient said, well, I know that you told me it is cavity, why are you repeating? The dentist said, I am not repeating, it is the echo from the cavity, you see. So it is the echo from the cavity, I am not repeating. So it is now the actual sensation of the sound is not corroborated, and so we see that it is an illusion. But even if they are corroborating, 5 thieves, they can corroborate and provide an alibi to each other, so it is, that doesn't mean that it is authentic. If we go further, we see that all of them are only bringing transitory and changing unverifiable impression. And it is a little analysis tells me that it is just, you can mutually see that, well, these two agree. The visual input and what it tells us is agreed by the audible input. But when we have this experience and carry it forward, then what happens? Then still we find that the other experiences do not match with it. So we feel confused. And we then get the question, was it real? That is where the philosophy begins. Was it real? They were just the impressions created by the sensations, and we believed them, thought that these are the real objects. But when you compare that, in the dream also you had all these corroborative experience from all the senses. But were those real? No, you woke up and saw that it was just a fantasy. It was not real at all. So similarly, all these experiences that come to us through these sensations. Plotinus sees that they are actually, there is nothing outside or real about it. Only sensations, that the impressions are there. Otherwise it is, he has used a nice word, it is a phantom. Means it is really a deceptive thing. In medical science they use the phantom pain. Sometimes they use the more simpler word, trauma. Trauma is more commonly used because the cause has gone, the cause of the pain is gone, but the impression of the pain subsists in the brain. So that gets called trauma. I saw a gentleman many years ago. We were in the same train compartment, and then he had a wooden leg. His leg was amputated, so he had a prosthetic leg made there. And he said, now I don't have, there was an accident and my leg got injured, so this is another leg that I use. But the fun is, now there is no leg, but I have still the leg pain there. So that is called phantom. That there is no leg, but still there is leg pain. So that is how many get that traumatic sensations because of some big impact. After this 9/11, many got that big trauma. They were every day seeing those big towers. That was part and parcel of their visual awareness. Suddenly they are gone, and it created a trauma. So this is how he says that it is not there, it is a phantom. The objects are not there, only sensations are there. And therefore, you see, if you abstract these, what happens? You get something that is the existence in itself, or what he calls the authentic existence and the ideal forms. And the ideal forms means they do not require any sensory input to certify them. So that is the ideal forms. So these ideal forms are now he is bringing us to this idea. Let me read further a little bit, that it is, and by means of these ideal forms by which the soul wields single lordship over the animate, we have discursive reasoning, sense knowledge and intellection. From this moment we have peculiarly the gui, that we were discussing, this gui, because of this lordship, what we call willpower, that yes, I can do this. I tell my hand to go and grab. I don't even have to, explicitly tell. The wish is enough. That I am Lord, as it were, of this body. Not that this always works. For example, I don't want the stomach to give pain, but still it gives. It is so. But there is visible lordship. That is what I was telling. I can raise my hand, but I cannot do so with Richard's hand. So it is, I have to request him that, hey Richard, can you raise your hand? And then if he obliges, it happens. Can you oblige Richard? He is now in a different world, So it is that it is the that hand doesn't work with the my awareness. So it is thus we see that this animate now is under this decisive capabilities or the powers of the soul. So now if you see it is now, therefore it is we and ours. Whatever now gets connected, it becomes now ours, we and ours. Our country, uh, this is ours. It is, that is the couplement. I remember long back this, but that incident is so telling in this respect. I still remember it. That it is, I called one gentleman on his cell phone, and his wife picked it up. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that it is phone of your husband." And she said, "It is ours. It is ours. It is not just his. It is because it is a couplement. So the togetherness is there. So it becomes an experience of soul and body together, as it were. That I experience this, but actually it is through the eyes the information was received, and I accepted it, and then say that I experience this. It is actually, we should say, we experience this. The body and soul together, they are experiencing this. So it is we. From this moment we have peculiarly the we. Before this there was only the ours, but at this stage stands the we, the authentic human principle loftily presiding over the animate. That it is, he says it is reversed. It was ours, but if you see the conscious principle behind, now you see the animate being, governed by a conscious entity. To be aware of the conscious entity, that is an important milestone in this raising our spiritual awareness. Raising spiritual awareness depends on this, that you become aware of the conscious entity. That is when that I, as distinct from body and the governor of the body, becomes now perceptible. In the Kundalini language, now you say that now you have come to the heart stage. Heart stage, the Kundalini has risen up to that where you are conscious of the self as distinct from body and controller of body. So this is the first spiritual awakening, one can say. So there is no reason why the entire compound entity should not be described as animate or living being, mingled in a lower phase, but above that point, the beginning of the veritable man, distinct from all, that is akin to the lion, all that is of the order of multiple brute. And since the man, so understand, is essentially the associate of the reasoning soul, in our reasoning it is this we that reasons. In that state, the use and act of reason is characteristic act of the soul. So this is, as I was mentioning, a launching pad to be a man, a human. From the animate to man, conscious of I, separate from the body and governor of the body. So, next, please. The man is the authentic existence and the ideal forms beyond the animate and beyond the animal nature. So this is where now Plotinus is taking us, that stepping beyond animal nature. The desires, he says, are specific to the animal nature. There are the higher desires specific to man nature, the desires that function through the body and belong to body. They are the animate things. For human, we see these things in human beings. The desire for knowledge, the desire for this kind of spiritual evolution that you don't see in other animals per se. So this is therefore where the man begins, and he mentions that the intellectual principle, in Vedanta we call it being aware of being conscious, the consciousness principle, or the chit, the Sanskrit word is chit. The conscious principle itself is not the emanations from it coming through the body. It is is the divine mind. Now here you read the word divine. That is the divine mind. The intellectual principle itself, the consciousness principle itself. It is we saw the abstraction process. That is how you arrive at the consciousness which is free from the sensations. Sensations can be added to it, but may not be added to it. It is free from those. So thus you have that. This is called, what is mentioned here by him, his terminology, divine mind. And he says this is the summit of our being. It is one, common to all, indivisible, everywhere and always. What a great idea. It is here he comes to Vedanta, that the one. It is Plotinus in the all the Platonic and Neoplatonic philosophies is actually you can say the only one who has categorically stated that this is all pervading divine consciousness which is undivided, which is everywhere and all the time, beyond time and space, and thus it alone is, that is the one. There is now this idea of couplement has vanished. Couplement means two, now it is one. Just by, he goes further to say, it is a mistake, a wrong understanding that is causing the couplement. In Vedanta they give a analogy like this, that it is the snake and the rope. Now there is the rope, but you are imagining snake there. It is there now. Actually, there is no snake. The rope is appearing as the snake. But will you call it then the couplement of rope and snake? The rope got coupled with snake, and so where there is rope, you are seeing snake? No, the rope alone was, the snake was a delusion. So, this is, let me read. I know the time is almost over, but I will still read this part. Hence, we possess the ideal forms also after the two modes in the soul, as it were unrolled and separate in the intellectual principle and concentrated one. And how do we possess the divinity? In that the divinity is poised upon the intellectual principle and authentic existence, and we come third in order after the first two, for the Gui is constituted by a union of the supreme undivided soul, and that soul which is divided amongst living bodies. So, the divine is kind of in an illusory way divided into all. So, everything, each of us is divine. It is just as the water given to you in different, say, glasses. Now, the glasses are different, water is the same. So, that very one divine is apparently divided into these, and then thus that becomes then, if we take that division to be real, then we become animate and otherwise we are divine. We are then the man that transcends the animality. So, this the intellectual principle itself and not the emanations from it coming through the body is the divine mind, and he calls it as the summit. It is it has been observed that the couplement too, especially before our emancipation, is a member of this total Gui, and in fact what the body experiences we say Gui experience. This Gui then covers two distinct notions. Sometimes it includes the brute part, sometimes it transcends the brute. Brute means body touched to life. The true man is the other, going pure of the body and natively endowed with the virtues which belong to the intellectual activity, virtues whose seat is the separate soul, the soul which even in its dwelling here may be kept apart. So, it is the transcendence of the soul that is being told. The body does many things that does not affect this soul. The embodied soul gets affected, but the soul does not get affected. It remains the same. So, that is the idea that is presented here, and that is very important to see, because many suffer with this wrong idea of individuality. One of our members was asking me about, that he said, I feel individuality. I am that I have to preserve my individuality. Swami Vivekananda has made a parody of this. Where is your individuality? Tell me, where is it? It is a phantom. There is nothing like that. It is all divisible, and yet you call it individual. It is a divided thing. Real individuality is this essential soul, what he calls as essential soul, the God, the divine. So we shall continue. Next Tuesday, I plan to take up his very famous essay on happiness. That we all seek happiness. So, Plotinus' essay on happiness is very much studied, and probably the best of his essays are these two, happiness and then on beauty. So, we shall study them in these classes successively. Any questions? Are there any questions? Okay, let us begin from Paul Cinco. Yes, please. Not to? Not to believe. Not to? And not to realize. Yeah, individuality, one has to learn, that to push it aside is possible when we know our true individuality, that we are truly divine. So then we can push aside our so-called individuality, which keeps on shifting and changing. Yes, who else? Yes, Sharada, and then John.
I find that many people compare Hinduism and Buddhism and kind of put them in the same basket. But from what you were discussing earlier with the beliefs of the soul and my auxiliary knowledge as far as Buddhism, it seems almost the antonym of Vedanta, because Vedanta would say that there is nothing but the soul, and Buddhism rejects the soul. So are these ideas?
Well, that is the lot of it is because of the terminology. The Hindus, the Vedanta, let us specify that it is the idea of individual soul is that it is temporary. What Buddhists believe that and show impermanence. It is the impermanence of this temporary soul. It is because it is tied with something that is impermanent, it also is impermanent. And that Hindus also accept without any problem. It is Hindus also accept this idea that it is this I is that we is connected, tied into body and mind, is impermanent. It is not real. So the I that is everywhere, that is called the self or the Atman, that is real and which is not very different from what Buddhists say as the nirvana or the ultimate knowledge. Yeah. Yes, please.
I always thought that individuality was somewhat of a strength, whereas, you're not conforming with the rest of the crowd, you're able to say no to the rest of the crowd, you're able to be like someone who upholds principles rather than conforming to public opinion or public sway,
That is an idea about individuality, but that also changes. It is that what you were opposing in public for some time, then later on, when your awareness changes, you do not oppose that anymore. So your individuality gets changed because of that. It is what you are calling is more like being steadfast. That is not the individuality. Individuality is I am so and so, I am such and such. Those ideas about oneself, I don't like this, I don't allow this. This is what constitutes our so-called individuality, which is not really, it is divided, it is not really an individuality because it keeps on shifting. If we accept that it is a shifting thing, then there is no problem about it. Like everything else is shifting, my individuality is also shifting. Where it is, you can never show where is your individuality, because what you did, like that steadfastness, it is, yes, you had believed in certain principles. But then when some more information came, some more knowledge came, that your ideas changed because of that, and so now your individuality became different. So it is in that sense the idea of individuality is also not an idea that can help us to evolve, except the steadfastness part of it, that I believe in certain principles, and whatever the world may say, that is what you were bringing about. Whatever others may say, I will not get swayed by their opinions. That is an excellent thing. Yeah. Any questions there?
Yes, Maharaj. First question from Charles Fieldman. How do we deal with emotional trauma getting in the way of contentment and spiritual progress?
How do we deal with?
Emotional trauma.
Emotion and trauma.
Emotional trauma.
Emotional trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting in the way of contentment and spiritual progress.
Well, it has how to deal with is a good question, you know. The trauma can be dealt by, there are two ways. First, know that actually there is no cause for it. It is only a phantom. So call it a phantom, that it is an appearance. It is not real. And thus one will be able to overcome it by repeatedly asserting this idea. There is the difficulty in this is that we take it as individuality, that well, I get this trauma. We define ourselves that well, I am such and such person. Now if we stick to that idea, we will never be able to get over it. That is why we should keep a healthy self-image. No, I can't do it. No, well, it is. So it becomes then your efforts will be to prove that you cannot do it. Instead of being actually able to do it, if you say, I am, no, I cannot, so then you will never be able to overcome it. But tell yourself it is trauma, means it is a phantom. And that is how you can get over it. It is not real. That is the meaning of trauma. It is emotional, that information brought to you that we are taking as real. It is, and so one has to really tell oneself, that is the part of therapy also, that it is not real. There are many cases that I know where such trauma is cured by bringing in such information that it is not real. Just try to see it is not real. And then slowly that impact goes away and the person becomes free from that emotional trauma.
Next question from Alexis Houston. Swami Pranams and thanks for the lecture. what is the difference between disparaging or negating the physical body and divinizing the physical body as a way to reach the spiritual ideal?
Well, it is, see, demonizing it, denigrating it is not advocated. Only to know that it is whatever it brings to you is according to its nature, its desires, and all that. It is not real. And the point is, its existence is not the essential existence as such. It is a passing thing. So it is not real. That is what we have to tell, that it is not the true existence at all. So this is the idea that is to be conveyed again and again. Don't say that it is bad, because it is bad real, just as good real. It will be bad real, that's all. Do not denigrate it, do not despise it. It will be then something else that is real that you despise. Do not give any sense of reality to it. It is not real, that's all. Yeah.
Abhijit, question from Abhijit.
Yes.
According to Plutonius, is the body also a sensation or does it exist apart from the soul?
Good question. It is from the point of view of the divine man, it is a sensation, because it is a perception that has come to us through the sense instruments. So, it is a sensation. When we are identified, when we are animate, then all other sensations, they are the sensations coming from the body, and the body is taken to be real first. That it is body here means where all this sensory apparatus is there. So at that time the body is taken to be real, but it also is actually sensation, nothing more than that. Very good.
Last question, Hima Bindu. Pranam Pujya Swamiji. How to be connected with divine all the time?
Whose question is it?
Hima Bindu.
Okay, yes. Please read again.
How to be connected with divine all the time?
Oh, well, this is the way to be connected to divine all the time. That think that is the true existence, that is the true soul, that is truly what I am. Then we are connected with it all the time. Otherwise, see, what are we connected with all the time? I am so and so. I look like this. I am. My height is this. I am 6 feet tall. I weigh. My weight is 160 pounds or whatever, So instead of thinking of I as that, keep on saying that I am pure. I am divine. As Plotinus has been telling, that is beyond the animal part. So this one has to get over the animal part. Then we will keep on feeling this divine. It sounds like catch-22, that it is how to feel the divine, get over the animal part. How to get over the animal part? Feel that you are divine. But that is how most of these the spiritual practices are. You have to start somewhere. So either start as I am divine and get over the animal tendencies. Also you can do the other side, or a combination of the two, that do not succumb to the animal tendencies. Tell yourself you are divine. Thus gradually one can see that always with every breath it is more constant than breathing. Always. Even breathing can stop. But this awareness, I am divine, will not leave us, friends. So, okay then. Uh, and then we shall meet next Tuesday. Today there is some sweet kept there for you. It was offered in the morning in our worship. So please, before you leave, take something nice, delicious, sweet dish. As those who are listening from the web, they have to get it virtually, just as they talk virtually. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, the Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, the Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.